Hello everybody. I own a 40-foot troller. It's about 30 years old, and on my troller I have a Powerwinch free fall rope and chain anchor, and the models that it supports are the 30, 35, 40, 45 foot class anchor winch. At least that's what this manual is for. Okay, these models have been superseded by, a 31, 36, 41, and 45 class anchor winch. But anyways, if you get out the parts list for the newer stuff, it looks very similar to the older parts. There's very little that's actually different. It all looks about the same. And the pieces that I'm going to talk about here at the moment are, let's see if I can deal with the light a little better. Okay, I have this little metal piece here, okay, and then I have this shaft here, and then there's some pieces here that I got, and these are all part of it. I mean, the rest of the winch is still in the boat. I just have a few pieces out of it. But the problem I had was when I wanted to if you look at this picture here, and I'm gonna lose the light, but sort of try to remember what it looks like here while I point. Okay, this gear right here is called the Spinoff gear, and when you try to let the anchor out, this gear here only turns one direction. So when you try to let the anchor out, this gear locks, the shaft turns and pushes the gear out. So it basically goes from this position all the way out over here. So and when it does that, there's another larger gear that would sit about here, and when it gets pushed over, then it's free from that larger gear. And once it's free from that larger gear, the whole anchor and chain and rope can all just free fall down. So that's the design. And then when you want to raise the anchor, it reverses, and since it's threaded, that gear gets threaded back on. There's a spring that'll push it back, and that spin-off gear gets threaded back onto the shaft, and engages into the larger gear, which turns the anchor wildcat and such, and pulls on the rope and chain, and brings it up. On the other side of that little shaft, you'll see is another shaft, and that's the part where the another large gear sits on that, and that's driven by the motor, that large gear with a little gear. Okay, so the challenge that I had was that spin-off gear, this gear here, got jammed all the way up against this area here, and this piece here was not there. I've added that in, and it's too much trouble for me to remove it for the video, so I'm just going to leave it. But the spin-off gear, when you're pulling the anchor up, it basically slides all the way over to engage what it needs to do. Okay, but it was basically jammed to a point where I couldn't release the anchor. If I push power to release the anchor, it just immediately locked, and the motor wasn't capable of turning it. Okay, and so what I needed to do to unlock it was to take that little shaft that's sticking out there and make it turn from this direction clockwise. So I have this mechanism here, and it's kind of hard to actually hold it so that you can turn that shaft easily, or get a good grip on it, and not have things flying around. So what I did was I took this metal or aluminum bracket, I'll call it, and put it in this vise. For me, this is a Black & Decker Workmate, and I actually have it sitting down inside because there's another piece that's protruding, and having it down there helped me keep it from sort of lifting itself out. Okay. Now the next thing I did, I already knew that if I just put a lot of torque on that shaft there, that the spin-off gear and the locking gear tended to sort of push apart, because you can see that neither of them are supported on the end, and the spin-off gear shaft, when it's in the housing, gets supported. So in any case, I needed something to keep them from sort of trying to pull themselves apart. And what I did to do that was I got some strapping tape. This is the kind of tape that's got a fiberglass filament in it, and I put about 4 wraps of this fiberglass tape around. I pulled these as tight as I could, and then I wrapped the fiberglass tape around it a number of times until they're basically pretty tight. And I wasn't sure if it's good enough or not, but it did work for me. Okay, and then I had it in this vise with the tape on there, and I came around and I put a wrench on that shaft. Now the wrench that I used was this large one because I needed some leverage on it. But in reality, it's only has a 3/8 inch fitting to it. So just for clarity, I'm going to use the 3/8 fitting, and I basically put it on and turned it. And you know, when at the time it was quite hard to turn. I mean, it took a pretty good effort, and I wasn't sure. My concern was that I was just going to break some of the parts on the other side, but it eventually just did break free, which was the intent. And right now, if I turn it in this direction, you'll see that the locking gear sits still, and it's actually driving the spin-off gear off of the shaft. Okay, if I go the other way, you can see it the locking gear can turn. The other piece in there that's got a little bit of color to it is a leather washer that I made, and like I said, I didn't take it off right now. It interferes with that locking gear a little bit, but I don't think it's going to interfere enough for me to want to take it off and redo it any. I guess you could probably go out and find a leather washer and buy it. It's going to need to have about a 3/8 inch opening to it, and then to get it down on that, I think maybe you can possibly see the the threads on the shaft that are inside there. And the threads obviously stick out more than the 3/8. So essentially the gears, the leather washers threaded, screwed onto the threads. So it's going in there. It will keep that spinning or spin-off gear from seating as close as it used to. I think it'll be okay. I guess I'll find out when I put this back on my boat. If it seems it's too thick, then I'll pull it apart and make that leather washer a little bit thinner. As for me, I created my own leather washer, just using an old belt that I had and didn't really need. This belt's about 3/16 of an inch thick. I put a washer up against it that supported a 3/8 inch bolt, and just drew it on there. Then I put the belt on my bandsaw and sort of cut the ring out. Used a punch like that to sort of punch a hole in the leather, and that my punch wasn't quite big enough, so I had to kind of go around and cut a little extra off. And then I still decided it was too thick and a little bit too big in diameter, and I used my stationary belt sander to just sort of thin it out and remove some of the width of the thing. So it still binds up a little bit on the locking ring, but not nearly as much as originally. So I'm going to take this, I'm going to clean things up a little bit more, grease up that my leather washer. I read about the leather washer online, so I don't know if it's something that's new for the newer models, but basically the idea is to keep it from seating all the way so that it can't lock itself in. So I'm going to clean it up, I'm going to put it back in my boat, and hopefully it's all going to function the way it's supposed to. So anyways, I hope that's helpful. I can't guarantee anything, but I hope this has so far worked for me. Thank you.